At some point in their school careers, almost every American student is taught about Brown versus the Board of Education. But who was Brown? What was this famous court case about? In the first half of the 20th century, throughout the United States, segregation was the law of the land. Schools, as well as other public institutions and businesses, were commonly segregated on the basis of race. This had been upheld in the Supreme Court case Plessy v. Ferguson. Linda Brown was an African-American third grader who attended Monroe Elementary School in Topeka, Kansas. This was the all-black school she was required to attend because of the segregation laws in place at the time. To reach her school each morning, she had to walk 6 blocks to reach the bus stop before traveling by bus another mile to reach her destination. Meanwhile, Sumner Elementary School, an all-white school, was only 7 blocks from her home, but she was not allowed to attend it because she was African American. Her father, Oliver Brown, attempted to enroll her in Sumner Elementary. After he was refused, he took his case to court. He was actually one of several parents who filed a class action lawsuit against the school board of Topeka, Kansas. Even though there were 13 parents involved in the case, it will be Mr. Brown's name that history will always remember. A district court initially ruled in favor of the school board, but the case was appealed to the United States Supreme Court. The parents' case was argued by Thurgood Marshall, who later went on to become a Supreme Court justice. The case was heard in front of the court for the first time in the spring of 1953. The justices were unable to reach a decision and asked to hear the case again in the fall. The court's final ruling was unanimous. By a 9-0 vote, the justices determined that the state laws which created separate schools for African Americans were unconstitutional, stating that these laws violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Newly appointed Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote the court's opinion over the case. This was a landmark Supreme Court decision and major victory for the civil rights movement. Even though this decision set the stage for integration to take place, it would be many years before it was seen in reality. Topeka schools began integrating as early as 1953, but would not see full integration until 1956. This issue was actually addressed by the court in 1955. Many school districts had asked for lenience in the desegregation process. The court revisited its previous decision, which became known as Brown versus the Board 2, and stated that desegregation should occur with all deliberate speed. Supporters of desegregation did not like this phrase because they felt it gave communities an opportunity to resist and delay the desegregation process. This fear was well grounded, as some communities avoided integration for years. In Virginia, there was a movement to close schools rather than see them integrated. Texas, Arkansas, Alabama, and several other states also resisted the integration process throughout the 1950s and even into the 1960s. However, integration was eventually achieved, and today, children are allowed to attend the school nearest to their home, thanks to the decision reached in Brown versus the Board of Education.